first Honda CR-V was an interesting car. It came at a time when Honda was trying stuff, and they tried something new. They worked out that SUVs are probably going to spend more time in shopping centre car parks than they do on muddy lanes. Turns out they were right. This is the 2020 Honda CR-V VTi-LX all-wheel drive. That means it's got everything. It's only a little bit bigger than that car from 25 years ago, but it's massive inside. The VTi-LX all-wheel drive costs $44,290. That's the same as it cost at launch 3 years ago. That's pretty good going. It's 4.6 metres long. That's actually not that long for a car that can, in some versions, fit 7 seats, but this one doesn't. It does have a lot of interior space though, because the wheelbase is really long. For a car this size, to have this much space is very impressive. Which means there is a ton of room back here. I'm sitting behind where I drive. I'm 180 centimeters tall, and I have got tons of room, tons of leg room. The seat's nice and high, so I can get my feet under here. It's almost palatial back here. It's very nice. You've also got, bottle holders, got these dodgy cup holders, air vents. Not a lot of cars in this class have air vents back here. 2 USB ports, heaps of headroom. I mean, Richard Berry, who is like 9 feet tall, he might struggle a little bit back here, particularly with this sunroof. So if you do have tall people in the back, don't go for the top of the range. But there is tons of room. Plus you've got the flat floor, which you can walk through the car, and it just means that little kids aren't going to trip over and fall on their face, which is funny, but not for them. Now for the kids, you've got 2 iScivics points and 3 top tether anchors. Now, the reason I'm telling you this from the boot is that there's a problem. Well, it may not be a problem for you, but it would be a problem for me. The top tether anchors are actually here in the rear bulkhead. Now, when my son was tiny, we had a Peugeot which had the same thing, and it just means it cuts into the available boot space. If you've got more than one, that's even worse, because as you know, carrying kids around is not about the kids themselves, it's about all the crap you've got to take with you. Anyway, because we're in the VTi-LX, you cannot have this as a 7-seater, which means you don't have to take anybody else's kids to soccer. I mean, you get more boot space. You get 40 litres more at 522 litres. You also get, when you put these seats down, there's 2 ways to do it, these little handles as well, you get 1082 litres. I reckon that's a little bit conservative. It's probably closer to 1400 litres. I get the distinct impression that Honda wants to put this engine in every car it makes. It's the 1.5 litre 4-cylinder turbo. I'd be pretty happy if they put it in every car, because it's better than the 2 litre that's down in the bottom of the range. Don't worry about it being little, it's got plenty of power and torque, and it's more than enough to pull this car along. If you want to know more, if you want to get all the detail, don't forget to read my full written report at carsguide.com.au. And if you want to make sure you see all the videos, hit subscribe and press the bell button so that you will not miss a thing. The CR-V has a bit of an old school SUV feel about it. You sit quite high, even though the car itself isn't particularly high, but you've got a really good view down the road, and you've got a really good view in every direction actually, because there's glass everywhere. It's quite boxy, so you kind of don't miss out on anything. It's a little bit down there, but there is a solution for that. It's also heaps of safety goodies. You've got airbags and ABS and all that, but you've got Honda sensing as well, which is standard here on the VTi-LX. So that means you've got forward AEB, you've got lane departure warning, you've got road departure warning, which sounds very dramatic. You've also got lane watch, which is this really clever thing. When you hit the left indicator, a little camera that's hanging off the rear vision mirror gives you a view down the side of the car in your screen. So that's really good if you've got a car down there, or a cyclist. Speaking of this 7-inch screen, it's feeling old. I mean, it's a bit small for 2020. Everyone else is at 8 or 9 inches, but also the graphics. We've got to talk about the graphics. They're feeling a little bit Tron actually, which is, Best thing is though, this has Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, so you never have to look at it unless you're using the inbuilt sat-nav. One of the things that sets Honda apart from the rest of the pack is the thoughtfulness of the interior. Honda does really, really clever interiors. Like here in the CR-V, you've got a completely flat floor in the back, which means it's easy to move stuff around and actually store stuff. You don't know how useful a flat floor is until either you've got small kids or you're moving pot plants. It's a bit niche, but it does happen. You've also got this quite clever arrangement here in the center console where you've got the armrest, which flips up, and you've got a bin here, but there's this sliding tray where you can put your phone, under which you can hide all your cables and stuff. And actually all the cables are in there. So you've got 2 USB ports, you've got a 12-volt outlet, which is weird to go with the other 12-volt power outlet, and Honda's bizarre insistence on sticking with HDMI. And in the boot, it's really wide and flat and uncluttered, so it's really easy to get stuff in and out. You get 2 good cup holders up the front and you get 2 in the back, but they're a little bit mean. They're quite shallow and they kind of look like they don't fit in the armrest. You also get bottle holders in each door and they keep your bottles vertical. Apparently that's a wine thing. I don't care about wine, but apparently it's good. I may not care about wine, but I've heard the parents of small kids really dig it. Something else that they will really dig is this. This is a really wide opening door. It makes getting in and out really easy, and it makes getting kids and stuff in and out really easy. It's fantastic. I've never seen a door open this wide on a car before. The CR-V's quite, well, it's quite American actually. It's got a really plush ride. It rolls a fair bit in corners, not puking children roll, but it does roll a fair bit. It's all about comfort, this car, and I'm okay with that. It's certainly not the kind of car that I would choose myself, but some SUVs are a little bit firm riding because they are biased towards that road holding kind of feel. And with this all-wheel drive, and it has really come into its own today, you'll be able to know exactly what day I've shot this because it's the first day it's rained in Sydney in like 10 years. The all-wheel drive has been really, really good in the wet because I know that front-wheel drive CR-Vs tend to slip and slide a bit in the wet. This has been absolutely super grippy the whole time. It's been really, really good. Now I mentioned the engine earlier. It's not bad. I mean, this is 1.7 tons that a little 1.5 is dragging along, and it's doing a really good job. And it would do an even better job if it had a proper transmission. Now, I don't like CVTs. Any CVT that you've seen me review, you will see me complaining about them. But the Honda one is okay. It doesn't flare a lot like some of them do, like the Subaru one, particularly in cars like the Legroom, it flares all over the place. CVTs tend not to work very well when there's a fair amount of torque, but despite this having torque, it works really well, and it picks up the slack reasonably quickly, but yeah, as soon as you put your foot to the floor, it roars and carries on. And here in the VTi-LX, you do get paddles, so you can choose the gear yourself. But yeah, look, most people aren't going to care, but if you are worried about that kind of thing, it does have a CVT. We don't get the diesel here in Australia, and that has a 9-speed ZF, which would be great in this car. But anyway, we can't have everything. What we also don't get here is the hybrid. That would be really cool. So, what else is good about it? The seat's quite comfortable, although like the HR-V, it's really overstuffed here in the back, and I kind of feel like I'm arched when I'm driving. There might be some adjustment to fix that, but I can't find it. Apart from that, it's very, very comfortable. Like I said before, a really good view out, plenty of light in the cabin, so you know, you're not feeling like you're hemmed into a dark cabin like, say, in a Mazda. And it's just really comfortable, and it's quiet. I mean, the most noise we're getting today is the rain on the windscreen, but even with all the water on the road, you don't get that shh up from the road. It's very, very comfortable, very quiet. I reckon in the cruise, actually I know in the cruise, this is a really nice place to be. So on long trips, you'll be really happy in this car. And you know, I think you could probably say that for any CR-V. Most of them are pretty much the same. I mean, the bottom of the range has that dodgy 2-litre gutless one, but as long as you've got the turbo engine, you'll be pretty happy. For almost 45 grand, you are getting a lot of car. While this might be a mid-size SUV, you've almost got the space of a much larger car. And I quite like that about the CR-V. It's got a great engine, transmission's a bit meh, and there could be a few more safety features, but this is a terrific car.